All right, so let's take a closer look at this printer. So here on the top, we can see there's a Creality logo. This is all one piece. It's cast aluminum. Actually, everything is, meaning the base and the upper portion here. Very smooth, clean design. Looks very nice, but all of the details here are on the back side, and maybe you guys can see, but we got a double belts, meaning there's two belts going around, and this is actually a CoreXZ machine. So this part, which is the X back and forth this way and up and down, is on a CoreXY system with these two motors on the bottom. So we got one belt here and another belt here, and then through some pulleys to the Hotend assembly. And this is where you guys can see the double belts on each side. Yeah, very unique design, and it's quite unique that it's in this configuration. Usually we see them horizontally like this for the X and Y. So essentially this is a bed slinger with a CoreXZ gantry. So we can see there's a lot of details here. There's rollers, little switch. Everything is running on rods, as you guys can see, including the y-axis. There are some plastic components, but everything looks very well built. We have our filament detector on this side that plugs in our wire routing. I zip tied these together, but it does come with these clips here that you can use to hold these together. Now, one thing that's very interesting on this printer is this Hotend assembly. So on the back here, it looks like we have the parts cooler, which maybe is a little hard to see, but there's a vent here that blows underneath. And if we go to the front, we can kind of see it looks familiar somewhat on the K series style. We've got the lock and unlock here, so it is a direct drive extruder all built in. So this PTFE hose doesn't need to be there, meaning the only reason it's there is because it feeds off this pull holder here. And so you do have to push it through all the way until the extruder can grab it and pull it through. So we also have another fan on the front. So there's actually dual fans. And I believe this is also a cooling fan or a parts cooling fan. But yeah, let's go ahead and take off these two little bolts on each side, and we'll take a closer look inside. All right, so the little bolts are out, and this should just pop up. There's a couple little tabs on the top here, and then it slides out. And I'm gonna go ahead and disconnect the fan, which by the way is glued on there. So yeah, we can see much better here that this piece is a parts cooling blower fan that blows underneath the nozzle right there. There's ports. So it's got dual cooling around the nozzle and then here on the side from the back. And right away you guys can see we have a ceramic heat block, which is a 60 watt with a silicone sock around it. So this looks very similar to like the K1s, which looks very nice. We've got the heat break here, the heat break cooling fan, it's very small. And here we have the main junction board and logic to the whole thing. And on the top here, you can kind of see the extruder arm and the extruders towards the back there. So Creality has definitely refined these all-in-one Hotends, and this one looks also very nicely built. We do have some LEDs there, and I think if we look inside this cover, and this is clear, the Creality logo probably lights up, which is really nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and plug this thing in and put it back on. All right, so going down, we can see we have the build plate, and this is a 220 by 220 by 250 build volume, which is a pretty good medium. But what you guys can see is this printer is quite compact, as our build plate is almost as big as our base. So this is a PEI sheet. It does pull right up. It's like a flexible sheet, and it's textured on one side, so meant to print only on this part. We got a little picture there of the nozzle purge area, and yeah, very nice build plate. There's a magnetic mat underneath, and if we flip around to the back, we can see the wire that comes to the build plate is strain relieved. The bed is heated and also insulated, as you guys can see there. And on this one, what's interesting is the bed frame is also aluminum, and on top of that has these special sensors here on each of the edges. So I believe the whole bed itself is pressure sensitive. And again, we are rolling on rails, and these are larger than these. We got our y-axis belt here, then the gear with the motor that runs it. These ends here are plastic. Same thing here for the front side. And on the back corner, we have the manufacturing label, which gives us a little more information about the printer. Here we can see the X and Z motors in CoreXY configuration. Also, we didn't see these springs, but when the gantry comes all the way down, it kind of starts compressing the spring. And I'm guessing that helps with slowing down the inertia on the way down. On this side here, also, we have this little plug that we plugged in, and it just goes up here to that switch. So the whole base is cast aluminum, very nice finish. We got venting, power input port, it's fused, and we have the on and off switch. Very nice large rubber feet on 4 corners. And on this side we can see, which is actually on the right side, if we're looking at the front, this is the back, is our spool holder, and it literally just clips on here onto the side, and this piece locks into here. Going back to the front, let's put our pleat back on, and we got little grooves there with end stops, bolts to line it up. Very simple, and also tabs. We got our USB port there. On the other side, it's clean. We got a logo there, and our main part here is the screen, which is quite large. It is 4.3-inch touchscreen. Let's go ahead and pull the protector off of it. So yeah, what we got here is a ultra fast direct drive high temperature 3D printer. And not only that, it looks really good here sitting on the table, and it's got a really nice clean profile. All right, so I got the printer plugged in. Let's go ahead and power it up. We'll hit the switch in the back. And right away here, I can see that the Creality logo is glowing, which is pretty neat. We got the screen booting up. And here it's prompting us through the process, which the first part, we're going to choose our language. So it's already selected on English. We'll click next. So we got to agree to a few things. Here we can set up our network, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. All right, so we're connected. There's a little check mark. Click next. So you're going to set your time zone. Click next after that. So here we have a QR code, and this is to connect the printer to your phone. So I'm going to skip this part, but it's quite simple. You just follow the instructions. So the next part is going to do a self check. So it says make sure you got your build plate on there, and it's going to take around 15 minutes. So we'll go ahead and let it do that. So it's going to do nozzle heating, bed heating, heat break fan, main board fan, input shaping, and then outer leveling. So yeah, quite a few things it does to make sure everything works. So it does check itself, which is great. So I'm going to let it do all this, and we'll be back after it's done. Alright, so it's done with all of its checks and everything. Probably notice it does go up a lot, and that's because the home is actually right here all the way up and to that side. And because of the CoreXZ configuration on our gantry, it travels up and down very quickly. Alright, so let's push OK here in the completed. And we saw our main menu there for a second, and we have a version update. So let's go ahead and update it. It says download. And that's the great thing about these newer Crealities is once you connect it to Wi-Fi, it talks to the mothership and gets all the updates it needs, install itself and reboot and everything, and you're good to go. So we're gonna let that finish up, and then we'll load up some filament and start the first print. Alright, so it looks like we rebooted, and we get a little tip here. It would be a good idea to recalibrate everything. So I guess we need to go ahead and do the input shaping and the out of bed leveling again, and that's going to take about 11 minutes. Yeah. Alright, so it's done with that, and you guys can see there's a feature where the screen completely turns off to preserve itself. So if we touch it, it comes back. It says complete, and we are done here. So let's take a closer look here at the menus. So here on the side we got hot buttons, and then right here in the middle we can see we had some graphs. So the blue up there is for the nozzle, and the green's for the bed. Here we have a couple icons. We're connected to Wi-Fi. It looks like filament detector. We got fan controls here, which is also in the settings. I guess it's a hot button. And here we have numbered temperatures for the bed and the nozzle. So yeah, in the settings we have movements and temperature, which we can home the printer here and adjust certain things. We got extruder controls, and then cooling is what we saw with the fans. Here we have files. So we actually have internal storage and quite a few files in it. That's pretty neat. So we can definitely do some test prints. But yeah, up here we can see local USB drive. So that's going to read the drive here on the side, and then history of what we printed, which we don't have anything right there. So below that we have settings, the screen brightness up and down. I might turn that down a little bit. Well, maybe it's about right anyways. But screen turn off 3 minutes. We can put never, which I think I'll just leave it on. Our language, the self check if you need to do your input shaping and auto leveling. Account information, update reminder is toggled on. Time zone, this is where you're going to bind to the app. Export logs, the version, reset to default, expert mode, and about. And then on the bottom here we have with frequently asked questions and an online manual. We got error history here, and you can upload your logs. So yeah,